Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm active in the local AP Computer Science class, and we're in the process of recording some videos on how to use the debugger inside of the DrJava development environment. Hopefully by now you've watched either our Debugger Basics class or our simple Breakpoint Resume video as a foundation. We will be building on top of that today to be able to teach you how to do some sophisticated, or a little bit more sophisticated stepping will be the key word, stepping from breakpoints to be able to understand how to control the flow of your program inside of a debugger. To get started, I'll remind you that our URL for all of our source is here at the bottom, and the particular module we'll be working with today is again the Java or the debugger.java file. As we've seen before, this program runs in such a way it prints out hello world, it prints out a current index, and it prints out a final string that is all of those indexes concatenated. Before we get started, reminder, make sure you have your JDK loaded and enabled. You can verify that as we've described by clicking on the compiler output. Now let's begin debugging by entering debug mode and setting our first breakpoint. Let's set our breakpoint right here at the concatenate and print. Just to do that, we set the toggle breakpoint. Now we have our red breakpoint, and let's run to that point. Just get there. All right, things have been reset. We're now at the breakpoint as is demonstrated by the teal item. And let's then decide, or say we wanted to very carefully figure out what's going on around concat and print. We could set a lot of breakpoints inside of this concatenate and print routine, or we can learn and use these three additional buttons that we have here: step into, step over, and step out of. Well, step into, let's explore that one first. On this breakpoint, step into would be, or sounds like it might take us into this concatenate and print routine. Let's try that. Let's step into the routine. Excellent. We now have the breakpoint up at 36, and we've come into the concatenate and print, and we've continued, and it says we've now stepped to line 41. And let's try that again. Maybe we can get into the print line routine of system.out. Let's step into that. Oops. We didn't get into there. We simply got to line 42. I wonder why that is. Well, if we think about it, it makes sense. This particular step into only works when we have source code. So that makes sense. That step into takes us into the routine. Let's look at the next one, which is step out. I'm going to skip step over for the time being, but let's do a step out and see how that works. If we step out of the routine, we get back to what appears to be our breakpoint, which would make sense. We were down here in concat and print. We get back to that. Let's just do a step into to see whether we're just going into the routine or whether we're coming out. If we're going into the routine, step into should take us into the routine as it did before, or perhaps we've now returned and we're getting ready to go to the next statement. Let's see where step into takes us. As expected, we didn't go into concatenate and print. We went to the next statement, which was the test string. All right. So step into takes us into a routine. Step out of takes us out of the routine. And to verify that, let's do one more use of step out of and see where that takes us. In theory, it should take us to the end of main, and we should run to the end of our program. Let's see if that works. Step out of took us back to the next breakpoint, which actually makes sense. So let's clear this breakpoint now and retry See, is our breakpoint cleared? Yep. If we come to the breakpoints tab, it's cleared. It's still there. Now let's try step out of and see if we get all the way to the end of the execution of our program. And sure enough, we printed our final string. That's as expected. All right, so let's go back, set our breakpoint at our original line 32, or call into concatenate and print. Let's run until we get to the breakpoint and explore our third option. So we've talked about step into and step out. Let's look at the third one, which is step over. Step over does precisely what we'd expect. It steps over the concatenate and print. You can see that we executed the concatenate and print. There is our current index. We were previously stopped at line 32. We stepped over. We went into the concatenate and print, executed all of these items in 40, and stopped then on line 33. And if we were to continue stepping over, we would work our way around this loop without calling into anything. Step over, step over, step over. We could even clear the breakpoint here, toggle the breakpoint on line 32, and step over and simply see items executing, including the whole routine down below every time we step over concatenate and print. So that is the third and final thing we were going to explore. We can set breakpoints as we've previously done and use resume, or even more fine-grained, we can step into routines that are ours, or we can step over routines that are ours, or we can step out of the current routine. That is the fine-grained control that we've now taught you today, and hopefully that will become helpful in your debugging. Happy debugging and good luck.